You didn't find this message. It found you in the quiet place you never dare to enter. The place behind your laughter. The place that waits for you when the noise fades. Listen carefully. If you keep watching, something inside you will die. And something else, something ancient, will wake up. You wake every morning and call it living. But what if it isn't? What if it's just another dream inside the dream? A repetition that feels real only because you've never seen what awake actually means. You scroll, you nod, you agree. You mimic emotions the world has taught you to perform. Smiles rehearsed, opinions borrowed, desires installed. You call it identity, but it's not yours, is it? You feel it sometimes, don't you? That subtle sickness behind your eyes. That quiet panic that comes when a room finally goes silent. And there's nothing left to distract you from the truth that keeps scratching at the walls of your skull. You know something's wrong. You always have. But you've learned how to bury it beneath routine, beneath the illusion of progress, of friendship, of purpose. Because facing it would mean admitting that most of what you've built, believed, and loved has been a lie. You tell yourself you're fine. You call it normal. But the herd calls its cages freedom too. And you believe them because everyone around you is asleep as well. Dreaming the same dream, selling the same illusion, dying the same death. The philosopher Schopenhauer once said that most people live like sleepwalkers, unaware of the nightmare they inhabit. He wasn't exaggerating. You've been taught to smile while suffocating, to chase what others told you to want, to mistake obedience for peace. You've been hypnotized by comfort. Comfort, that's the drug. The soft blanket that smothers your hunger. The invisible poison that convinces you that stillness is safety. It isn't. It's wrought elegant and slow. A gentle suicide approved by society. You call it rest. I call it decay. Look closer at your reflection. Not the face, the flicker behind your eyes. That pulse of unease. That's not a weakness. That's you trying to wake up. Trying to claw through the illusion before it consumes you completely. You sense it, don't you? That faint vibration under the skin of everything familiar. It's the boundary between the dream and what's real, between who you pretend to be and who's watching behind the mask. You keep feeling it because your soul hasn't forgotten. It remembers something the world made you forget. You weren't meant to be a copy. You weren't meant to sleepwalk through borrowed lives. You were meant to tear the veil apart, to witness the machinery of your own illusion, and to rise above it. But that awakening costs everything. Your comfort, your attachments, your false peace. That's why you resist. Because deep down, you already know that to wake up is to die. At least the you they taught you to be. Most never do. They call their nightmares reality and protect them until the end. They fear the truth more than death itself. But not you. You wouldn't have heard these words if you weren't already at the edge, the moment before the mask cracks. This is where the illusion trembles. This is where the dream begins to burn. You feel it, don't you? That pull inside your chest. That quiet knowing that something in you is older than this life, older than your name, older than everything they've told you to believe. That's the real you, buried beneath 1,000 performances. Let it surface, even if it breaks you. Especially if it breaks you. Because only what shatters can be remade. And only the one who dares to wake will ever truly live. You learned early how to wear it. The mask. It fit awkwardly at first, too tight, too obvious. But the more you smiled for others, the more it molded to your face. Now, you barely feel its weight. You've forgotten what your real expression even looks like. You perform the right emotions at the right time. Approval is your oxygen. Every nod, every like, every passing compliment. They feed the illusion that you're someone. But deep down, it's hollow. It's all theater. You act the role the world expects because it's safer than the silence of your true voice. You follow the script, hoping no one notices that your eyes have grown empty, that you are terrified of what you'd find if the mask ever slipped. But masks have one fatal flaw. They can't breathe. Sooner or later, the air runs out. The smile becomes heavy. The laughter turns sharp. And the mirror begins to mock you with the question you've avoided your whole life. Who are you when no one is watching? The herd never asks that question. They are too busy echoing each other's noise, mistaking movement for meaning, applause for truth. They bow to trends as if worshiping new gods. They seek belonging, not being. They want to be seen, not understood. And in that desperate imitation, they lose the one thing that could save them: solitude. Nietzsche warned that the individual must sometimes become a hermit, not out of disdain, but out of preservation. Because the herd will always crucify whoever refuses to kneel. They call it arrogance. They call it madness. But it's neither. It's the first breath of real freedom. When you step away from the herd, you feel it, the silence that roars louder than any crowd. At first it terrifies you, because you've mistaken noise for meaning your entire life. Without it, you confront the void. You confront yourself. And that's the point. The world will tell you to be kind, to fit in, to stay humble. But these are codes meant to keep you asleep. Gentle commandment from the architects of obedience. They don't want you awake. An awakened mind is dangerous. It sees through manipulation. It doesn't buy into their economy of attention, their trade of empty dopamine for control. It becomes unreadable, untouchable, free. But freedom is lonely. They cannot understand the fire that no longer needs warmth. They cannot follow the path that burns their illusions to ash. They would rather remain blind than see what you've seen, because once you see, you can never go back. Every philosopher who glimpsed it paid the same price. Marcus Aurelius ruled the world, yet spoke only of discipline and decay. Nietzsche lost his mind, staring into the abyss. Jung nearly drowned in his own shadow to find self. They all walked alone. So will you. The mask will begin to crumble. You will feel naked, exposed, raw. Every false identity, friend, title, belief will peel away like old skin. And beneath it, something terrifying will emerge. You, unfiltered, unforgiving, real. Most people never make it this far. They sense the cracking and run back to the herd, clutching their illusions like children holding broken toys. But if you're still here, if you're still listening, then you already know there's no turning back. The mask is disintegrating. And once it's gone, the herd can no longer recognize you. They will see you as something alien, a mirror that reflects their own sleeping faces. And they will hate you for it. That hatred will be your initiation. It will strip the last illusion from your flesh. It will teach you what love is not. It will teach you what truth costs. Walk away anyway. Let them curse your name, mock your silence, question your sanity. Because while they dance in circles under artificial light, you will be walking toward the fire that makes you real. And when that fire finds you, you'll finally understand why the mask had to burn. You will reach a point where pretending becomes impossible. Not because you suddenly grow stronger, but because the mask no longer fits, and every attempt to wear it feels like suffocating underwater. This is where collapse begins. Not a breakdown, but a breaking through. You will wake one morning and realize that everything you built to protect yourself has become the cage that kills you. The job, the friends, the plans, all of it designed to hide one unbearable truth, that you've been asleep inside your own life. And when you see it, really see it, the collapse starts quietly. It doesn't come with thunder. It comes with silence. A silence that swallows every lie you've ever told yourself. You will feel alone in a way you didn't know was possible. Not the kind of alone that craves company, but the kind that realizes company was never the cure. You'll look at the faces around you and see actors, repeating their lines, pretending they don't feel the same emptiness gnawing at their insides. And you'll understand why the prophets went into deserts, why sages chose exile, why does every awakened mind walk away before it speaks? Because before truth frees you, it destroys you. Jung called this the night sea journey, when a conscious mind descends into the depths of the unconscious to meet what it has denied. It is not a metaphor. It's an initiation. You'll begin to lose things. People who once felt like home will fade from your orbit. Their words will sound foreign, their laughter mechanical. They won't understand what's happening to you. They'll call it a phase, depression, arrogance. But it's none of those. It's metamorphosis, the death before rebirth, the self shedding its skin. The collapse will strip you bare. Your ambitions will rot in your hands. Your goals will lose meaning. Even your voice will sound unfamiliar because it's no longer performing. You will wander through your own life like a ghost. Everything will seem hollow, the work, the talk, the noise. You'll crave solitude like oxygen, and you'll start to see patterns everywhere, in conversations, in faces, in systems that once looked solid. You'll see how it's all designed to keep you numb, and you'll feel rage. Not the kind that screams, but the kind that burns silently, a cold fury at how deeply you were deceived, how easily you betrayed yourself. Don't run from that rage. It's sacred. It's the fire that cleanses. Let burn everything false. Schopenhauer said, "Through suffering, we are educated." He understood that pain isn't punishment. It's purification. It exposes what comfort is concealed. It teaches you what truth costs and why most refuse to pay. Your old self will die screaming. It will try to bargain. Just give me one reason to stay. But the silence will answer back. No more lies. You'll break down. You'll think you've lost everything. And in that moment, when your knees hit the floor and there's nothing left to hold on to, something remarkable will happen. You'll stop fighting, not in defeat, but in surrender. The surrender that comes when you finally stop trying to control what's already falling apart. And in that stillness, the truth will whisper. This was never a collapse. It was an unveiling. The pain was never your enemy. It was the teacher. The loneliness wasn't abandonment. It was initiation. Every loss was a purification. Every silence, a doorway. This is the initiation no one tells you about. The one that breaks the illusion of identity. You were never the role you played. You were never the story you defended. You were never the image you tried to protect. You were the witness behind it all, watching, waiting, buried beneath layers of fear. And now that witness stirs. It sees through the ruin and recognizes itself, untouched, eternal, sovereign. When that recognition dawns, something impossible happens. You stop running from pain. You stop begging for understanding. You stop trying to be seen, because you finally see yourself. This is the moment of collapse, when everything false dies and the real begins to breathe. It's not a tragedy. It's a resurrection disguised as loss. Don't fear the fall. It's not the end. It's the beginning of the one thing they never wanted you to discover, your own power. You've been initiated. You just haven't realized it yet. You stop running, and the shadow finds you. Not as a monster, but as a mirror. Silent, patient, familiar. Everything you've buried stands before you now. The rage, the envy, the hunger, the versions of you the world told you to kill. And the shadow whispers, "Will you finally look at me without fear?" You were taught to call light good and darkness evil. But no one told you that light without shadow is blindness. That denial is the quietest form of self-destruction. Every time you pretend to be pure, you bury the truth alive. Until one day, the truth claws its way back, through dreams, anger, silence, and ache. That's when everything breaks. And breaking is sacred. You sit before the fire of your own making. Every flame is a memory. Every member has a confession. You see now, your cruelty was protection. Your pride was in pain. Your silence was survival. And suddenly, the monster doesn't look like an enemy. It looks like a child, your child, the one you abandoned to fit in, to be loved, to be safe. You reach out, and the shadow exhales, because all it ever wanted was to be seen. You finally understand. Wholeness isn't about being good. It's about being real. The awakened aren't spotless. They're scarred. They've walked through their own hell and made a home. They've burned in their own fire and called it purification. You let go of approval, of shame, of needing to be understood. And when the fire dies, you're left with ashes and peace. Because destruction wasn't punishment. It was mercy. It burned away everything false. Now, silence feels holy. Even pain feels clean. You no longer chase light. You carry it. The darkness you feared has become your ally. The chaos you avoided has become your compass. You have learned what few ever do. Light is not the opposite of darkness. It is the mastery of it. You stand between both, unafraid, not needing to be one or the other, because you are both. And in that stillness, something ancient awakens. The part of you that was never broken. never afraid, never sleep. You inhale the first real breath of your life, and the world exhales with you. Everything is the same, but you are not. You have walked through death and found yourself alive. You have faced the void, and it bowed to you. You have become what the darkness was trying to teach all along. The one who sees. Welcome to the moment you finally see.